Maxine Waters vows to reverse Trump scam if Dems reclaim Congress. Illegal aliens, along with human and drug traffickers, continue to traipse across our borders. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has pledged to secure the border between the U.S. and Mexico. He has repeatedly called for the immediate deportation of illegal aliens and implemented policies to that end, such as the zero-tolerance policy. Yet the so-called resistance strikes, waging war with propaganda, violence, and faux media outrage, vowing to strike down all things Trump, regardless of the benefit to America and her citizens. As a result, President Trump is now calling their bluff, stating he would be willing to shut down the government unless Democrats in Congress help pass immigration reform, including funding the wall. President Trump tweeted, "I would be willing to shut down government if the Democrats do not give us the votes for border security, which includes the wall. Must get rid of lottery, catch release, etc., and finally go to system of immigration based on merit. We need great people coming into our country." He was highly critical of the left and their continued obstructionism regarding his attempts to reform the broken immigration process by continuing to resist any and all attempts to secure the border. Earlier Sunday, he said there are consequences when people cross our border illegally, referring to the separation of children from their parents, and called on Congress to repair the dumbest, worst immigration laws in the world. He tweeted, "Please understand, there are consequences when people cross our border illegally, whether they have children or not, and many are just using children for their own sinister purposes. Congress must act on fixing the dumbest, worst immigration laws anywhere in the world." His administration has come under blistering criticism for separating children from their parents over its zero-tolerance immigration crackdown to deter immigrants from trying to cross the border illegally. A self-proclaimed leader in the so-called resistance movement and openly critical Rep. Maxine Waters said was not about to allow President Trump's threats of a government shutdown pass without directly addressing it. With almost single-minded obsession, Waters has been calling for the impeachment of President Trump even before his inauguration. This time is no different. On MSNBC's Live, Waters claimed President Trump was merely bluffing and bullying in his threats to shut down the government if a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border was not funded. Waters stated, "You know, this president is a bully and he will try to intimidate all of us. He is not going to shut down anything. As a matter of fact, people will remember that he said he was going to build this wall and he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall. They said they weren't going to pay for anything. Now he wants the American citizens to pay for this wall. American citizens are not going to pay for this wall. He is not going to shut down the government and we are not going to be intimidated by his bluffing and bullying." The left is going bonkers over her statements, saying that she humiliated Trump. Race a tweet from a liberal with a video of Waters' attempt to attribute the booming economy to President Trump's predecessor, former President Barack Obama. Waters expressed clearly faux concern about the deficit. "As a result of the tax bill, of course, the economy has improved, and of course he would like to take credit for all of that," she told MSNBC anchor David Dura. "But in the final analysis, when this country understands and feels what has been done with the tax scam and what that's going to do for our deficit in this country, it's going to be reversed. Yet the disaster that is current American immigration, along with the current issues stemming from the massive influx of illegal aliens, can be directly attributed to prior administrations, specifically the former Obama administration. Take a trip down memory lane with me, if you will, and see that the former Obama administration set America up for failure regarding immigration and the illegal influx, according to Zero Hedge. May 2011, then President Obama travels to the Rio Grande sector of the border to push for his immigration platform, i.e., amnesty. November 2012, a presidential election year, Obama is running for re-election. He campaigns using wedge issues and buzzwords like the so-called war on women along with immigration amnesty. Then candidate Obama promises to push Congress for amnesty. under the guise of comprehensive immigration reform, if re-elected. President Obama goes on to win re-election against Mitt Romney. December 2012. Immediately following re-election, now President Barack Obama signs an executive order creating the Deferred Action Program, or DACA, thus allowing millions of illegal aliens to avoid deportation. According to the White House's own internal documents and research, DACA is what Central American communities immediately began using as the reason for attempted immigration. In both a border control study and DHS intelligence report, the DACA program is specifically mentioned by name by the people apprehended attempting to illegally cross at the border in 2013 and 2014. May 2013, and President Barack Obama visits South America. Following a speech for Mexican entrepreneurs, Obama then traveled to Costa Rica, his first visit as president. In addition to meetings with Costa Rican President Laura Chinchilla, President Obama attended a gathering of leaders from the Central American Integration System, CASE. The regional network includes the leaders of Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. Then President Obama meets directly with the leaders of the Central American countries. Summer 2013. Numbers of illegal unaccompanied minors reaching the southern U.S. border from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua doubles. 20,000 reach U.S. southern border by traveling across the southern border through Mexico. The mainstream media primarily ignores. FPCState.gov documents. Orga. October 2013. White House receives notification that tens of thousands of illegal unaccompanied minors should be anticipated to hit the southern U.S. border the following summer in 2014. An estimated 850% increase in the number of unaccompanied alien children (UACs) were reported to the White House. For reference, in 2012, less than 10,000 were projected to arrive. FPCState.gov documents. Org. January 2014. In response to the projections, the Department of Homeland Security (DHS) posts a jobs notification seeking bids to facilitate 65,000 unaccompanied alien children. FBO.gov index s equals a port. January 2014. In response to the projections, the Department of Homeland Security (DHS) posts a jobs notification seeking bids to facilitate 65,000 unaccompanied alien children. FBO.gov index s equals a port. It is important to note, this job posting was January 2014. The Obama administration was planning for 65,000 childhood arrivals. Yet in January 2014 they were taking contractor bids for services to be used later in the year. As they hoped, almost no one noticed. On January 29, 2014, the federal government then posted an ad seeking bids for a vendor contract to handle unaccompanied alien children. Not just any contract, mind you, a very specific contract, for a very specific number of unaccompanied minors. 65,000. FBO.gov index s equals a port. Just 2 weeks later, in February 2014, President Obama visits Mexico for bilateral talks, in an unusual and unscheduled one-day visit. Spring 2014. After a full year of DACA, as well as successful transport and border crossing without deportation, DHS begins to notice a significant uptick in the number of criminal elements from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, which have joined with unaccompanied minors to gain entry. 2014 Internal Administration DHS documents reveal that refugee status is now being used by both criminal cartels and potentially by Central American governments to send prison inmates into the U.S. June 2014. Tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua hit the border in the headlines. Despite specific documentation that denotes prior planning and prior internal notifications, the White House claims it did not see this coming. Internal documents, including a DHS border security alert, show that in March 2014, A full 3 months prior, the White House was aware of exactly what would be arriving in June 2014. June 20, 2014, congressional leadership and key Latino Democrats from the Democrat-Hispanic Caucus meet with representatives from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. June-July 2014. By the end of June 2014, the massive influx is so large it can no longer be ignored and the media pick up the story. It is dubbed a border crisis. However, the White House is desperate to avoid any possible connection to the known criminal elements within the story. July 3, 2014, then-President Obama requests $3,700,000.00037 billion in supplemental budget appropriations, claiming it is to deal with the border crisis. Yet only $109 million is for actual border security or to be put towards any efforts to stop the outflow from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua across the border and into America. Hidden within the massive budget request is Obama seeking legal authorization to spend taxpayer funds for lawyers and legal proceedings on behalf of unaccompanied minors and their families. Congress is being asked to approve fund executive branch's violation of immigration law. DACA. Section 292 of the Immigration and Nationality Act specifically prohibits representation of aliens in immigration proceedings at government expense. Yet then President Obama specifically and explicitly authorization to use taxpayer funds to provide illegal aliens with government lawyers at American taxpayer expense in defiance of the law. July 10, 2014, facing pushback from Congress due to the express and explicit violations, as well as sticker shock at the amount he is requesting, President Obama sends his DHS team to Capitol Hill to begin a concerted propaganda campaign ramping up anxiety. We are preparing for a scenario in which the number of unaccompanied children apprehended at the border could reach up to 90,000 by the end of fiscal 2014. Not only did the White House know what was going to happen, documented as far back as 2012, perhaps further, but White House actually constructed events to fall into a very specific pattern and intentionally did nothing to stop the consequences from the DACA executive order issued in December 2012. This was the origin of the crisis. It was manufactured under the Obama administration, starting with DACA. This was intended to be an ongoing issue utilized to open American borders, creating a political climate where a very specific and overarching agenda could be pushed. If there was a specific agenda that received pushback, then dissension was sown. Utilizing the criminal element involved, massive illegal immigration was supported and is currently supported by both sides of the establishment cartel currently occupying Washington. The bought and paid for voices of the D.C. political despoty are utilizing this very manufactured crisis to keep borders open and the influx of illegal aliens as high as possible. This is now being used as a measure to oppose President Trump in one of the core points of his original presidential campaign. Yet there are literally billions at stake. Illegal immigration is a lucrative business for them, and the Washington criminal cartel never misses an opportunity to add a comma to their bank balance or fatten their wallets. Many organizations for the past 15 years have used illegal immigration and refugee resettlement to their financial benefit. They do not want anything to happen to their cash cow. For example, one company, known as Southwest Key, has been given $310 million in taxpayer funds so far in 2018, and that is just one company, for a portion of a single year. Then there are organizations like Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, which provides foster care and other child welfare services to migrant children. Faith-based immigration services is a code speak for legalized human smuggling. These immigration groups get massive HHS grants and then pay off the D.C. politicians and human smugglers. Billions of dollars are spent, and the business end of immigration has exploded in the past 6 years. It is a vicious cycle. Trafficked children are more valuable than adults because the organizations involved get more funding for a child than an adult. Each illegal alien child is worth about $56,000 in grant money. The system is full of fraud. President Trump is attempting to confront this unified interest. All political opposition to the Trump administration on this issue is structured, planned and coordinated. The issue is a valuable tool for the professional political class to sow chaos and dissent amongst the American people, and they will continue to do so. And they will continue to do so inside the Beltway and the mainstream activist media. There is an infestation of illegal immigration supporters. Approximately 65% of the money HHS provides is spent on executive pay and benefits, opaque administrative payrolls, bribes, kickbacks to D.C. politicians and payoffs to the South and Central American smugglers who bring them more aliens to traffic across the border. They are aided and abetted by the mainstream activist media. Meanwhile, as best it can be determined, approximately 35% 19,000 of HHS funds are spent on the alien immigrant child. Maybe. The numbers and accounting get rather sketchy the deeper you go. Beyond the usual enrichment schemes and fattening of Washington wallets, the entire process of illegal immigration, and Washington, D.C. legalized human trafficking. There are the side benefits for